Welcome back to the channel. I've never been known for building really cool cars, and today, that's all gonna change. So what's gonna change? Well, I'm gonna bring the level of cool up by bringing it way down with this build. So it's a minivan. How cool could it be? It's a 2016 Honda Odyssey Touring Elite. What does that mean? It means they checked all the boxes. And this bad boy is crammed with all the technology 2016 had to offer. It was actually pretty advanced because they still have a lot of the same features. There's a couple that it's missing because they didn't make it until 2018, but whatever. It's pretty fancy for a 16. So it came from Atlanta, Georgia, so it is rust-free. It's got a little dent back here. So let's get it off our trailer and take a look at it and get it back on the road because we got kids to pick up from soccer practice. I was all excited to use my top-down jumper pack for the first car I picked up at the auction. Of course, the battery wasn't dead, amazingly enough. So if you want to pick one of these up and guarantee you never have another dead battery at the auction, links in the description. So let's see what we got here. First thing I noticed is this piece up here is a little dry. That sun down there in Georgia. Hopefully it'll come with our new tailgate. Gonna need a taillight. Looks like somebody's been here before. A bumper and a liftgate. Somehow, whatever rear-ended it missed the quarter panel. And I appreciate that. Maybe a little bit of work here from bumper chipping the paint off, but I think somebody had it apart. I didn't want to open this because I didn't know if it would close, and that's better to find out here. But yeah, somebody has definitely been here before. Here's our taillight. Definitely gonna need one. Oh, look at that. Labeled bolts. That was nice of them. Trim panel looks okay, minus all the wear and tear, all the soccer balls hitting it. Cargo liner, we must have had the bumper off because this belongs inside there. Don't see anything. Looks like we might have to pull this out a little bit. See how much we can get away with and not have to replace. Be nice if we just change some bolt-on parts, pull this out. But that remains to be seen. So the first thing we're gonna need to do is go put our little ProMaster to work. We're gonna go pick up some parts. We're gonna need a liftgate, a bumper, and a taillight. We can fit all that and see how everything fits. And if we're gonna need any inner structure, a piece of the quarter or whatever, body panel, I think it's all gonna pull out. I hope so, fingers crossed. So let's go get our parts. Guess we can answer the question I've been dying to know the answer to. Will this liftgate close? I think so. Plug the button back in. Broken bolts. I guess so. I could have opened it where it was warm. It's been a couple days and I did find a liftgate. I had to go pick it up because it was up by the border of Wisconsin and they don't deliver down here. So luckily enough, it was the right color. So I get to save you all that stripping down and we can just go ahead and throw our gate on there. At least I get to save you some of the stripping it down. And we might have to change some parts. I don't know if they're all the same because the gate that I got was for an EX and because this is a Touring, there might be something different in there. So let's get it on the car and compare them and see if I got to change some parts or if we're already done. First, we need to pop the lens cover off of our light. That'll allow us to get to the screws that are hidden behind it, and we can pull this trim panel down and plug our light. And we're lazy, so we're not going to pull the seatbelt out. We'll just slide that down there. Pull our upper quarter trim out of here. Wiggle and pull. There's one screw up here. Not for a clothing hook, which you might think it is.
That's for the sunshade for that back window. I guess you could hang clothes on it if you wanted to. And it doesn't want to come off that C-pillar trim, so we're going to leave it up there. Pull the rod out for our automatic liftgate, shove it down in there. Get our trim panel all the way down. And now we can pull our headliner down a little bit so we can access all of our wiring harness. We clipped it in way over here. So we're just going to use a long screwdriver to push the tabs in and pull our harness out of there. There are a few clips across that roof line that we just use a small pick to disconnect the tabs, and we can pull this harness out of here. This harness is going with our liftgate. We'll find a place to put it. Now that we have our liftgate holder, which is just two 2x4s screwed together and in no random order, I took a wild guess and it turned out it was perfect. So screwed them together, we can pull our struts out of here, put our clip back on there so that we can snap it back on when it's time. The one out of this side. Now we can start unbolting our hinges. Take one bolt out of each side. We're going to throw a blanket up here so that when our liftgate falls on its roof, we don't scratch anything up or dent anything. And go ahead and pull these other two bolts out. And our liftgate is free. Kinda. There's still some paint holding it on. So we're going to knock our prop rod out of the way. Reposition ourselves. And use our belt molding installation tool to break that paint free. Set this off to the side. We have our new used liftgate. It's a little heavier because it's got more stuff in it, but it's negligible. We're going to set it up on our blanket. Also another reason we put it up there. Okay, slide it around to where we need it. Put a liftgate prop rod in here. Put that in the center because the last thing we want to do is pick up this very expensive gate from the ground. Now we're going to try to put our bolts in our hinges. Once we get a bolt in each side, we can relax a little bit. But until then, it's a little tense getting this thing in here. So the slightest breeze can put this thing on the ground and cost us a few $1,000s. Bolt on one side, so now when it falls, we can ruin the gate and one hinge. Snug it up a little bit. Head over to the other side. Get one of these bolts started. Snug that up a little bit. And now we're safe. The only place it's going is closed if it falls. The other bolt in each of our hinges. Tighten them down. And we put our struts back on there. Because we cut that prop rod at the exact right height, we snap right in. I could not do that again if I tried. And our gate is on and stays up by itself.
We have a few parts we need to swap over on our gate. The first being this wiring harness. You got to make sure that these are the same so you don't have headaches later on. And the way you can do that is check all the wires, or real easy, we can look at this part number. And our part number is the same except for one number. But that's enough to tell me it's not the same harness. And I have learned, the hard way I might add, that you always want to change the harness ahead of time. So we're going to go ahead and swap that out. We also have to change our taillight filler panel in the center. This is a Touring, so it's got the little red reflector in it, and that one just has a chrome piece on it because it's from an EX. It's the same gate. That one's just a lot cheaper because, well, it was from an EX. So we'll just swap that over. Ours is still good. Save ourselves a bunch of money. So let's get our harness changed, and maybe I have to change that little sub harness there. This sub harness here has the same number on it, so we can leave it in there. And then maybe I'll strip the rest of the parts off of this, and it'll become the beginning of Scott's Honda Odyssey Emporium.
We're going to take our time removing this wiring harness. We need to push the little tabs in to pop them out of there, especially since it's cold out here. We don't want to just pry them out. We'll crack all those tabs, and then our harness won't stay on our new gate. I'm sure I'm going to get the lame joke comments about how the weather in Chicago seems to be really cold for August, but this was filmed a while back. And yes, in Chicago, the weather can go from 90 one day to 40 the next. I have seen it. However, this was back in December when we wish it got as high as 40 degrees. And it was a little chilly out here. The cold weather makes this job twice as hard. Plastic gets super brittle and will crack without any forgiveness. I win. When it's warm, it flexes a little bit. So we're just going to take our time, pry all our plastic off of there. And that's probably going in the pile. Our other one is in better shape. Now we can fish our harness out of here. We got it out of there. No broken clips, no broken plugs. We can go ahead and put it in our other gate. Yeah, but first we got to take our gate apart. The upper trim panels come off before this lower trim panel, but the junkyard had already removed them. I did get them, but they're just in a separate pile. Uh-oh, we have a casualty.
I think I have an extra. I broke it.
That was our button for the automatic liftgate. My plan was to pull down the trim panel and disconnect that button. Unfortunately, I didn't know that the button had other ideas, and it was suicidal. Pull off our Touring nameplate so we can upgrade our EXL tailgate, and then we can start changing over our wiring harness. Pull the top piece off of here. Hopefully we don't break any of this, because we're going to save this one since it's in much better condition than our one from down south. This one came from Illinois. We don't get quite as much sun, and definitely not as intense. So to get our spoiler off of here, we're basically just going to work our way across, working on one clip at a time. There's really no way to disconnect them. You just got to pry against them and hope we don't break them. And if we do break a couple, hopefully we have enough between the two spoilers to put this thing back on securely when we're all done. And we can go ahead and disconnect our third brake light and set this aside for later. And all of our clips did survive. And we can start pulling our old wiring harness out of our gate. And it probably would have been easier to change this wiring harness over with this gate on a stand, but I really wanted to get the gate on the vehicle. I don't like parts that are the right color with no damage just laying around. Bad things happen. Once they're bolted on the vehicle, they're slightly safer. So I'll struggle with this harness where it's hopefully out of harm's way. But anything around me is technically in harm's way. So our EX harness is out. Now it's time to put our Touring harness in. And I did find out the major difference was the camera. The Touring camera offers different views, and the EX did not. So we got a few extra wires, I guess. Put it in there. Now we got to run the other half through the roof. Pull our headliner down and stuff it in there. We got our harness in there. Now we're going to try and push the rubber grommet in. But because it's cold, the rubber's not very flexible. I think we got it though. Go ahead and put our spoiler on. Connect our wires for the lights. And I think there's a squirter in there too. Line up all of our clips. And tap it in there. Go ahead and torque our bolts in, or the nuts. Put nose down to manufacturer specs. Now we need to change out our filler panel between the taillights. We need it out of our way so we can also get our camera out of there. Pop our harness off. We do have to pull the taillights out, at least on one side. The other side's smashed, so it shouldn't be in our way. Squeeze the clips together and pop it out of there. Unbolt our camera. And bring all our stuff to the other gate. Disconnect this camera. Pull our screws out. Disconnect our harness. And that filler panel's out of there. Pull our camera out while we're here. And we can put our new camera in. Bolt it in. Grab our harness, clip it in, and plug it in. And there's the difference between the two filler panels. Now we're going to change our license plate lights, only because the ones in here were really brittle, cracked. So we're going to toss those in the pile, put our other ones in there, the better set. You just clip in. Put our filler panel on there. This is the red one, so it looks like one big taillight all the way across instead of a chrome strip in the middle. Personally, I like the red one better. So we'll go ahead and plug in all of our lights and bolt in our little filler panel. Make sure our harness is where it belongs. And put this quarter trim back up here. Put a rod through for our automatic lift gate. Slip it behind the lower quarter trim. One bolt in the top. And clip it in. Now we can bolt the rod for our automatic lift gate to the lift gate. And then after all that work, we're just going to proceed to close it without the button anyway.
So we have our new gate on here. It kind of fits. We do have to pull our body panel out. I can actually kind of get my hand in here, so it's got to come out quite a bit. But I can't pull it out until I get a taillight, and that's still in shipping. So as soon as it gets here, we'll go ahead and pull that body panel out and see how much we're going to have to replace, if anything. So I will see you when the taillight's here.
In the meantime, we can go ahead and remove all this writing. For that, we're going to use a brand new razor blade. Yeah, I got new razor blade money now. And it's cheaper than using an old rusty razor blade because the rusty razor blade will scratch the glass. So we're going to spring for a new one, clean all this up, and then toss it on the ground so it can get all rusty and dull, and we'll use it later to cut, airbags out or something like that.
It's been a couple days and we got our new taillight, and along with it we got a couple of lessons that we learned. The first lesson that I learned a long time ago, so it didn't catch me up here, that's save the old parts. And the reason for that is we don't have any sockets. This taillight didn't come with them, so we would have had to buy those separately or go find some somewhere else. But we had our old ones, so we can go ahead and throw these in our taillight, and we're good to go. The other thing is not necessarily to look just around in yards close to you. It's a taillight, it's easy to ship. So I did a nationwide search. Taillights around me were anywhere from $450, I don't understand why, to $150. A new one from Honda is $170. So I don't know what the $400 junkyard was thinking, but I don't know anybody that's gonna buy that. This one I actually paid $35 for. It didn't come with the sockets, but it didn't matter. With shipping, it was actually another, I think they charged me $10, $12 for shipping. So less than $50, I had a new taillight. So I think it came from Pennsylvania or something. If you're willing to have it shipped and it's small like this, look nationwide. You might find a couple bucks that you can save. You can always look on eBay too, but eBay ones are actually more expensive than this. So let's get our sockets changed over, get our taillight in here, because we're gonna go take it on a little ride to Scott's Equipment Emporium, because that's where the mobile frame rack is. And even though the mobile frame rack is mobile, it would take a long time to get up here. So let's just take it to the frame rack.
Our back seats become both our garbage can and our workbench. Pull the sockets out of our old light. I feel like I should probably transfer over some of the OEM dirt. Flip our bulbs in to our new light. Hopefully they work. Plug our bulbs in and screw our light in. We're only going to put one screw in there because that bottom one is pushed in a little bit, and if I tighten it up, I'm afraid I'm going to crack my brand new light.
We made it down to Scott's Heavy Equipment Emporium without incident, actually. No parts fell off. We didn't even have any lights on inside, so maybe there won't be a whole lot of mechanical work to do when we're done with this thing. We got our mobile frame rack, manufactured by Bobcat, in place. We're going to pull the rear bumper off, and then we'll put the Bobcat up against the back of the van. Probably use the trailer hitch because it's nice and solid and it's there instead of the reinforcement. And then we can start pulling up against our Bobcat. So let's get our bumper off and get that done.
Somebody's been here before and they didn't put all the screws back in. So this makes my job just a little bit easier. Did put this top one back in there and nothing in the bottom. So a little wiggle and pull and it comes out of the bracket. And they put the one in here. Not sure why they decided this one had to go in there. Pull that out. This one they had nothing in. Just a little wiggle and pull and it's out. Didn't even plug it in, so we can unbolt our taillight that we stuck in there temporarily. Pop all the plugs out of there. And no, that is not rust, that is dirt. Authentic Georgia dirt. No, we're not going to clean it. And now you can see the gap that we have in between our liftgate and our body panel. So it is pushed in a little bit. So we're going to pull it out, maybe spend a little extra time, and not have to replace any of this body panel, which I actually figured on originally. Pull our gasket off of here so we can clamp onto our pinch weld. Tighten up our clamp. We have our fork up against the receiver on the trailer hitch, and that will keep the van from coming back. We tied our come along onto our forks, and now we're just pulling against that fork. Got it pulled out a little bit. So now we're going to move our clamp down a little further and pull a little more here. We're just going to work our way down and across. We're going to lower our come along so we're pulling straighter against the damaged area instead of on an angle. And it walks right out. A little stress relieving, so we do have some buckles on the inside. Definitely don't want to change those panels. There's a lot involved for that. But this will come right out. Pull a little further. A little more stress relieving. With each tap, it moves a millimeter or so. And then it'll stay there when we release it. Now we're going to reposition our clamp a little further down, right on the curved area here, which is probably the part that was pushed in the most. Most of it's come out already from our other pulls. Speed this up a little bit. You get the idea. We're just working our way around. And our trim panel finally fits, so we might have it in the right spot. So our quarter trim lines up again before it was pushed in. This is plastic, and it looks like they did have it off, or it just got popped off in the accident. So we're going to slide it off of the two remaining clips that are in there. And I don't feel like taking the last one that's inside the door out. And because these are Honda clips, they just twist and pop out. Okay, so they're supposed to twist and pop out, but the gasket on this one doesn't want to let go. But it gave up. Slip it into our trim panel here. This trim panel basically just covers up the cable for the automatic sliding door. Got them all back in our trim panel. So we're just going to line up all of our clips. Slip the back of it around and clip it in there. Use our belt molding installation tool. Now I go throw our screws in here. We shouldn't have to take that off anymore. And close our gate and see how it fits. If it fits. It closes. That's a good sign. Our gaps are looking pretty good. Our gasket's sealing tight. But we're still not done yet. We won't have any leaks, but if you look right there where the bumper goes and that rubber baby buggy bumper is, that's a little bit pushed in. So if we were to put our bumper on and tighten it up, it would pull the bumper in and it wouldn't fit our liftgate or our quarter properly. I mean, I suppose we could fix it with some drywall screws, but I'm not into that. So we're going to pull this out a little bit, get it to line up like it should. For that, we're just going to screw a screw where that bumper screw should be. It's not the one that belongs in there. It's one that came from Scott's, I believe, MKT Emporium. And then we're just going to pull on that. So that's pulling out the entire center of our body panel here. Give it a little tap, get some of these kinks out of here. We can do a little fine tuning later by welding some pins on there. This moves really easy. But we're just trying to get the important stuff in place. The edges where the gate seals and where our bumper mounts. And our taillight. Everything else is just superficial. But we'll make sure it's all back where it belongs so that it looks pretty for the next guy. And we got to pull the bottom of our body panel out just a little bit. Doesn't take much. A little stress relieving. Make sure it stays. Move our clamp over. Actually, we can get rid of it all together. We'll use a striker to pull here. Reposition our frame rack. And pull our striker out just a little bit. The gate had a little bit of a pop to it that I didn't like. This will get rid of it. More stress relieving. And go ahead and take our tension off of here. We got a little buckle around our lower taillight mount, and you can tell because the paint's flaked off there. Always a good indication. We're going to fix it the same way we did our bumper mounting hole before. Or even use the same bolt. Clamp onto it, pull it out a little bit. Don't want to pull too hard, you will rip that right out of there. So we got some tension on it. Now we want to focus our stress relieving right on that corner. So for that, we're going to use our 1/2 inch extension, which now identifies as a punch. And we're just going to tap it out of there. Take our clamp off of there. And we did pull that out a little bit. But we got our buckle out. We'll tap it flat again. And hopefully it's in the right spot. There's a little bit more to pull out here. I'm going to use our famous bolt. Since it's here, we can pull out on that and save having to weld any pins on. We still might later, but this will give us some pulling. I don't know that it really makes a difference other than looking pretty, as long as all of our bolt holes and our seams are where they belong so that our gasket seals. All of this is superficial, but I still like to get it back where it was so that when somebody takes it apart, maybe they don't know somebody's been here before. And we're going to go ahead and see if our taillight fits. Clip it in. And both of our bolts went in and nothing cracked. And we get a nice gap all the way down our tailgate on both sides. So I think we're done. We'll throw our bumper on, see how that fits. It's only going to fit so well because it's a little mangled. Plug in our parking sensors, make sure they're all working. Flip it into our body panel. Then it just falls right back out. Flip it into our quarters. Screws in there. We'll even put some extras in there. And we'll see how everything fits. Doesn't look too bad, even with a slightly mangled bumper.
So we got everything fitting up there. pretty nice actually. We're gonna send it over to the body shop and let them go ahead and paint everything that we messed up in there when we had the clamps on it. We will have to seam seal some of those parts that were broken apart. We'll take care of all that so it's all painted on the inside. And then we'll go ahead and find a rear bumper. This one's good enough for right now. But before I take it to the body shop, I'm gonna go ahead and get it safety tested. That way I can start getting the title done, because it doesn't have to go for the second inspection. It just has to go for a safety test and mail the paperwork in. So why not do that while the body shop is doing their thing? Saves a lot of time instead of just waiting until it's all done and then taking it over, because, well, I'll check all the lights and horn and all that good stuff, but it should pass the safety test. So let's go get that done.
Well, we already failed our safety test. We got a license plate light that's out. Turn signals are fine. Brake lights are fine. Reverse lights work. That's it for back here. Let's check the front. Headlights, bright lights, parking lights, turn signal, check the wipers and the horn, and we're good to go. I got to fix our license plate light. Alright, well, looks like that's done. But I don't want it going out on me when I'm halfway there, so we're just going to go ahead and change that bulb. It's just a little 194 bulb. Pull the socket out and replace it. Got a fresh new one. Plug it back in. And there we go. Give it a tap just to make sure it's going to keep working. Now we're going to remove this sticker. I don't know what it was, but it's just the glue that's left on there. But I want to take it off of here so that I know if there's anything under there that needs to be painted. Was it covering up something else? If it was, I want to have it painted when everything else gets painted. If it wasn't covering up anything, well, I'm just going to clean all this glue off of there and it'll be all clean. And I just did the detailer's job. Looks like it wasn't hiding anything, so that's good. We do have a couple little dings in that gate, and I'm just going to let the PDR magician take care of those.
So our little preliminary safety test is done. Pretty good when all we have to change is one little light bulb that we probably just could have tapped on and it would have worked, but you know, it would have gone out before I got to the safety test. So we'll just change it. It's already done. And the reason I can take it for a safety test now, even though it's totally not finished, is, well, I could let it go down the road like this. We don't even have to change that rear bumper. It's not an essential part in the salvage inspection, which is why I can send the paperwork in before I change that, because I can change that at any time. The tailgate is an essential part, so that's why I had to change that. But that's pretty much our whole job. We're gonna have to put it back together, clean it up a little bit, and probably do a little bit more work. Might need some tires on it. They're still good, but I just want to put a new set on so that the new owner has a new set of tires. We'll probably have to tint the windows too in the front, because I don't want to get caught driving this thing. We're back from our safety test. Of course, no problem, it passed. We did give our own little safety test, so there really wasn't a big surprise there. Now we're going to send it over to the body shop. Before I do that, I want to pull that quarter trim off of the inside so I can match it up to another one that a local yard has. I just want to make sure that it's got all the nonsense in it that it's supposed to have. The AV jacks, the headphone jacks, cigarette lighter, sunshade, you know, all the stuff you probably don't need, but it has, so we're going to put it back in there. At least I want to make sure it's the right color too. So I'm going to pull that out so I can just match it up to the other one and I don't have to guess. And then while we're there, we're going to go ahead and pull the rear bumper off because I got a new bumper. It's actually an optional OEM, and what that means is OEM buys surplus bumpers. They'll buy a bunch of them at a time. Sometimes they're damaged, so like if you get an OEM surplus door, it might have a door ding in it, and they sell it at a discount instead of selling it for the new price. So if you don't mind, you know, a little PDR or, you know, a little Bondo Works straightening out a dent, you can save yourself a couple bucks. Sometimes there's just an overrun of them and they didn't sell as many as they need to and they just want to get rid of them. And I think that's the case with this one because it doesn't look like the bag is all torn up or anything. So it was quite a bit cheaper. It was way cheaper than a used one. Used one might have been worth it had I needed the reflectors, the step pad, the parking sensors and all that stuff. But I really only needed a cover, so this was the way to go. It was actually cheaper than reconditioned, aftermarket, and of course OEM. So we got our brand new shiny Honda bumper and we're gonna go hack it all up because it's not gonna fit. It's gonna fit just fine on the quarters because our old one did, but it's not gonna fit for our trailer hitch. So we're gonna have to strip our old bumper down, use it as a template to notch out this one so that it fits up on our car. And then we're gonna send everything, the bumper that's all hacked up and the car over there, and let the body shop go ahead and prime it and paint everything that I messed up when I put the clamps on there. Let's get all that done.
I want to put this upper trim panel back before I end up breaking it because it keeps getting in my way. So we'll just clip it in. And we'll pull the gasket out, because it always likes to go to the wrong place. Plug our light back in. Clip it up there. Put our screws in. And put our cover on. And make sure it still works. We'll go ahead and fold our seats up. Ooh, presents. Mardi Gras. Make sure that's the only present. Pull our trim panel off, but it's stuck underneath the sill plate, so we're going to have to take that out first, but looks like the rest of it's off. So we'll pull our sill plate up. Little wiggle and pull. Some of the clips played nice. Other ones we're going to have to pop out of there. But now we can get our quarter trim out. And pull those clips out that didn't want to play nice. Slip them back in our sill plate so it's ready to snap back in later. And we don't lose them. Unplug all the electrical stuff in there. And our piece is ready to come out. And that's why we had to replace it, that big crack in the back. We have our bumper off, and as you can see, it's kind of cut out right here where the hitch comes down, and then the center where the receiver is all has to be cut out of here. And then this little cap just covers up the marks that you can kind of see. The rest of this is all underneath, so I guess that's why they really didn't care how they cut it out. It's really not pretty. But let's pull all of our, we got a wiring harness in here, a couple reflectors, our step pad. Let's pull all that stuff off of here, and we can just set our other bumper inside here and hopefully line everything up or get an idea. Maybe we'll have to make a template. Find out in a second. We'll start by popping all of our parking sensors out of their little grommets. We're going to leave them plugged into the harness and everything. That way we don't get them mixed up where they go. Pull our reflectors off. Just squeeze the little tabs and pop them out of there. More parking sensor over here and a little more harness. And we can pull the parking sensor grommets out. Just a tab on each side. And there's different ones for the inside and the outside, so we don't want to mix them up. Keep working our way across, pulling out our other parking sensors. And our harness is out with all these sensors still attached. Pop this reflector out of here. And pop our parking sensor grommets out. Now we'll get our step pad off. Just squeeze the little tabs in on each side. Pull out a little bit. And it pops right off. And we have no casualties. That's always good. Pull our little bezel off of here. And we'll unpack our brand new bumper. See what it looks like. This is the closest I get to opening Christmas presents because I'm usually on the naughty list. Doesn't look too bad. I guess it was one of those overruns. So we can see the difference here. And the worst part about cutting all this plastic out of here isn't the fact that we have to do it. It's that once you cut that out, this bumper becomes so flimsy. It just becomes a pain to work with. So we're going to make ourselves a template. Just got some painter's tape. We're going to run it from one reflector hole to the other across that seam. We'll use that seam as a measuring point, and we'll cut out the reflector holes. Then we'll cut out the notches where we need to make our cut. Now we're going to gently peel off our template. You don't want to stretch it or tear it. Now we go set it down on our new bumper. We're using that body line across the back and the edges of our reflectors to get it in the right spot. I don't know why I made this side a little bit longer. Now we'll put our tape in there for our other cuts. These are not as important. Take our measurements, just measuring off the holes, the mounting holes. Now comes the hardest part, at least for me. Finding the nerve to start slicing and dicing this bumper that is perfect, that we just paid a bunch of money for. And it's too late now. It's getting a trailer hitch, like it or not. We'll cut down here. This is just our first cut in the center. We're going to have to cut it out a little bit wider. We just basically made the cut for where that plastic trim piece goes. Pull off our template. And you can see the bumper just kind of folded in half since we took that piece out of there. And we'll slide our little plastic trim piece in here. Got to open up the bumper to get it in there. It's also kind of a stiffener. I got it in there. Start drilling our holes. Hopefully we won't drill through our fingers. But luckily I'm wearing gloves, so I should be fine, right guys? Pull that little trim piece out of there so we don't actually screw it up. And continue to drill our holes. Apparently that's one of my famous dull drill bits because it's having trouble going through plastic. Make sure we got our holes in the right spot. Looks good. So now we can go ahead and trim the rest of it out. It's a little bit wider where it goes over the receiver further down. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of those pieces. Now we can make our cuts on the outside. I chose to make this template a little bit different than the other one. I just taped over the entire hole, marked it on the inside with a marker, and now I'm just cutting where the marker marks are. We'll use that razor blade that we left on the ground to make the rest of our cuts in there. I don't want to cut too much. The disc is a little bit too big for the corners, but a razor blade will go right through. Now we'll take our piece over and make sure I cut out the right size. If I didn't, it's a little too late now, but oh well. I guess I'll know before I put it on, right? And to make our third cutout, we're going to use yet another different method to make a template. Our third different method. So we used a different method for each piece. And since the piece is the same, we're just going to flip it over, line it up, mark it off, and cut it out. On this side there is a cutout for the exhaust, so there is kind of a double panel in there. We're going to have to cut through that. Should be no match for our grinder here. I got most of it out of there. We can't get the grinder and the rest, so we'll just use a razor blade. It's like trying to work on a wet noodle since we made that cut in the center. Thing has no support anymore. We'll kind of hold it in place with our hip and our elbow and try to use both hands to pull that piece out of there and make our cut. Now we'll clean up all the melted plastic around our cut from the grinder. Give it a little bit better finish on that cut. A little cleaner.
We got our 3 little pieces cut out. Now we could just be brave and send it off to paint and put it all together when we're all done and hope it fits. I'm not that brave, so we're gonna go ahead and fit it up beforehand so that if I do need to trim any extra out of there, I can. I imagine they trimmed a little bit too much, so my holes are a little bit smaller. They might be too small, but it's always easier to take a little extra off than put some back. So, you think it's gonna fit? Well, there's only one way to find out. Tune in next time, and we'll find out if the bumper fits and maybe what's in my console. Thanks for watching. See you then.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take sh- I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take sh- I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.